Okay, Holmesy, an analysis of my challenge. First, I read your challenge Monday morning. Let's just say I can see where you got it from. That was a little bit mean of you. I've always sucked at approaching guys, starting conversation. I've always been like, oh, you're cute, let me run the exact opposite direction. So this challenge really got me out of my comfort zone, but before I was able to successfully do it, there was a lot that went into it. So first, I would like to start with the choosing of my poems. So yes, and I said poems, that will make sense a little bit later. On Monday morning, I started literally all I did at work. It was super bad. I hope none of my fellow compatriots will ever watch this. All I did was look at love poems online. Love poems are rough for me. I think they're cheesy a lot of the time, and it's really just not my cup of tea. So then later that day, I decided to go to Barnes & Noble, their poetry section, picked up about 10 books and sat down to just read through them, try and find something I like. As I was sitting there on the second floor where we always sit, there was this pretty cute guy. He looked roughly in his mid-20s, came and sat down in the chair next to me, and I was like, oh my god, is this gonna be the moment? The answer was no, I couldn't, for two reasons. Finding a poem is very difficult. I really have struggled. And then second, he always had his headphones in and I had no clue how to approach him. I kept reading along. He left. I was still looking through poetry books though, in the hopes of finding something decent. Okay, so now on to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So what I thought was so fascinating about this challenge is it never really left my mind. All I could think about is what people would do if I read them a love poem in the middle of nowhere. And then I would have a little story in my head of how that would go down. Anyway, fast forward after that. So for 3 days, that's all I did was imagine it. And then Friday rolled around and I was like, dude, if I don't do it today, I don't know if it's gonna get done. I'm gonna go up to the U to go watch the gymnastics meet. So I was like, oh, I can kill two birds with one stone. Gymnastics meet is until 7. I'm off work early. I'll go to the library and chill there, and I sit down on the tables upstairs because I was like, if I sit in a booth, I'm never gonna find anybody to read to, and if you go sit in the desks, it's quiet time, nobody's gonna want to talk to you. Honestly, all I do is sit there and look around and try and find an unsuspecting person. So in my head, for the whole entire week, I was planning a way in which I could introduce a love poem to someone without them thinking I'm insane. You never gave me a premise on which I had to read the love poem to them, so I kind of made up a story. My story was that I had to choose a love poem for a class, because I was at the U, that I needed to analyze, and I was going to ask them for their opinion. See, with me making up this story, I kind of did a doubly bad thing on my part, as now I had to read them 2 love poems. Here's love poem number 1. Life is too short for games, unless it's a game of cards. Don't text back right away if you like them. Pretend you don't. And don't you dare say I love you first. Well, screw all that. I will text you back in 3 seconds. I will tell you that I like you. And if I love you, I'll tell you every chance I get. I'd rather play every card as honestly as I can than have a deck full of regrets and what-ifs. My god, are those geese? We're getting attacked by geese. Okay, anyway, so the poem. They say don't fall in love with writers because their poems are messy and their letters are empty words dressed up to look pretty. But I say fall in love with me because underneath the mess and in between the lines is a heart too full of love that would follow you to any city. I guess I should tell you how I chose the guy first, right? I can go talk to like anyone normally, even if they're a stranger, and feel fine, but if I find them even remotely attractive, I can't talk to them. I really gotta work on that. I found this guy. He was sitting, you know, kind of by where they have those like glass boards everywhere, and he was all alone, and he was reading a book, probably doing his homework. I honestly don't even know his name. And I sat down by him. I moved. Like, I think he watched me move. It was like, hey, I would like your opinion on these 2 poems. I have an assignment and I can't choose between the two. I read him the 2 poems and he was probably like, who is this strange girl? But he was really nice and he was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I read them and he just stared at me after a while and he's like, oh, they're both really good. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I figured from someone, right? Like, they're not gonna give me any insight, actually. But he said he liked the sound of the second one better, so the writer one. But yeah, he had like no opinion on anything. I said, thank you for your opinion. And I was like, I think I got an A+ on this assignment already. And then I left. That was it. It really wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. And then I left and I went to the gymnastics meet and never am gonna see that guy again, and I'm okay with that. Hopefully that fulfills my requirements. You never said how I had to read the poem to the guy. So thank you for giving me something that I could handle that wasn't too crazy but definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone. Also, I've read so much poetry this week, it's insane. So I will see you next week, and I honestly think you should just F up on a video once, because doing the challenges is way more fun than creating your own little video, I promise. Bye, Homesy.